What advice could we give new riders? What's up, guys? Chef here, riding free. Hope you are having a great day. The weather is beautiful here at home. A little warm but sunny and dry, which is outstanding. If you are new here, I appreciate you stopping by as always. And if you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you spending some more time here. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button for me. Help make this channel grow. So in the last video, talked about what's happening with the motorcycle community and culture, and what's our responsibility to continue the legacy. One of the things I talked about was it being our responsibility as experienced motorcyclists to share that information with younger, newer riders to try to keep this culture alive as we know it. So I think part of that is, what advice we could give to other people, especially newer people. What advice could we give new riders? This is something we could talk at great detail on. I will concentrate on a couple of things that I think are important for them. So the first piece of advice I would give to newer riders who want to get out and enjoy this community and the culture is to get out and ride. If you get out and you ride, a couple of things are going to happen. You're going to become more comfortable and confident with your riding ability, which is important for new riders. I still always try to gain more comfort and confidence with my riding ability, and I've been riding for over 20 years. The other thing too is, depending on where they go riding and what they plan on doing, gives them exposure to things within the culture and the community. Now, whether that be just, going to a specific place, going to a bike night, going to an event, I think is always good. But running into other people in the culture, in the community, who are able to share stories and conversation, memories, helps to carry those things through with the newer folks. Next big piece of advice that I would give: take a trip somewhere. And when I say take a trip, it doesn't necessarily have to be a week-long trip somewhere. I mean, it could be a day trip or an overnight trip somewhere. But get out and explore and go somewhere new, somewhere different, maybe somewhere that you haven't been on a motorcycle. As we all know, riding, the environment, the smells, everything is always different when you're on the motorcycle compared to being in the car. Get that tactile stimulation from the wind on your skin, that sense of freedom. That's the stuff that people need to feel, that's going to continue to drive our culture. The next big things that I would pass along to new riders that I think is extremely important is to not ride beyond your ability or capability. Problem is a lot of people get to the point where they want to go, ride with some friends. Friends invite them out. They're confident enough with their riding. And the problem is if you're riding with a mixed group with experienced people and people with little experience, novice riders, people tend to push their limits. And I think that is something that newer people need to be cognizant of. Do not ride beyond your means. You don't have to push yourself. If you're following with your friends, hopefully they know that you're new at riding, have less experience in riding, and try not to push it with you. because if you have an issue where you're pushing yourself too hard, you're riding beyond your means, your abilities, that's going to rattle your confidence a little bit, and that's certainly not what we want new riders to experience. So very important that you learn to ride your own ride at your speed, ride at your comfort level. At the end of the day, if your friends don't wait, are they really good friends to ride with? Or you guys can make arrangements where you're going to ride to, and you can just meet them up there. One of the other things I would definitely share with folks is riding gear. Something that people often overlook. It just depends on what kind of riding style that you have and how you like to ride. Some people like to ride in flip-flops and shorts and tank tops when it's nice out. That is definitely not me. I always ride in jeans, not just pants, but I ride in jeans, and I make sure that I always have footwear that go above my ankles. You get burned on an exhaust or your side cover, derby cover on your transmission, you understand why. But boots are always important. I'm a big fan of riding boots. I'm shorter, so I always make sure that I have riding boots with a decent sole on it and good traction in your footwear. That's a very important fact, especially if you're going to be backing your motorcycle up. Got to have good traction and the ability to push back. Like if you're like riding in cowboy boots, I like wearing cowboy boots. I have a set that I like to ride in. They have a rubber sole. If you have cowboy boots with like a traditional leather bottom, zero traction. Some people like to wear jackets when they ride, some people don't. Obviously depends on the weather. One of the best pieces of riding gear that I have ever purchased is this Harley Davidson mesh riding jacket. It's nice. It's in the upper 80s right now, and I can feel the wind going through the jacket itself. It does offer you some protection just in case something does happen. And this specific jacket has pockets in the elbow, shoulder, and back for body armor if you choose to use that. I do have elbow and shoulder pads in here. They don't bother me at all. The jacket's super nice. I can fold it away in the saddlebag whenever I get to where I'm going. Like I said, it's nice and ventilated. And a big thing with this jacket is, and I've worn this on a couple of longer trips, you don't have to worry about applying sunscreen. Sunscreen's always kind of a pain in the butt because it gets everywhere. Big gear pieces that I don't think that you should skimp on. Definitely a helmet. I mean, some people have their own views with a helmet, and you know, whether you live in a state that requires you to wear a helmet or they don't. Georgia is a helmet state, and obviously I'm wearing a full face. I've fallen in love with the Simpson helmet. Super comfortable, super lightweight from the other helmets that I've had, and it's nice. Some people don't like wearing a full face because they feel too restricted, so this one is super comfortable. A little more open in the front, so it's a little more free. If you're gonna wear a helmet, find something that fits. Fitment of your gear is imperative to getting the right gear and making sure that it works properly. A helmet is one of those things that you should go to a shop and be fitted for a helmet. They make helmets for round heads, they make helmets for oval heads, so you got to know what head type that you have when you're getting fitted and sized. That's the hard part about buying a helmet too, because typically you can only wear it around in the store. Once you buy it, 99% of places that are out there have a no return policy on helmets. One of the ways to circumvent that I have found recently is if you do go to a store and get fitted, you find a helmet that you like and the fit works good and you're worried about it, You can always purchase the helmet from Amazon. They will allow you to return a motorcycle helmet in their return policy as long as it's not damaged, hasn't been dropped. So that's kind of a way to allow you to experience the helmet for maybe a longer period of time and have the ability to return it. Problem is, most people try a motorcycle helmet on in the store. They have it on for just a couple of minutes. They determine that it fits and they buy it. And I know personally for me, I've had helmets that fit, and then once you get out there and start wearing it, it just doesn't sit right, or it's too tight or too loose. So helmet fitment is very important. One other thing that I think is important gear-wise is gloves. I'm a fan of wearing gloves when I'm out riding. I mean, there are times that I don't wear gloves, but definitely a lot more comfortable. You have the ability to get a better grip on the motorcycle when you're wearing gloves. Gloves also, too, allow you to keep your hands covered from the sun. When I used to live in Michigan, being covered from the sun really wasn't a big concern, because when it's nice outside, you really wanted to ride and you didn't mind being in the sun. Living down here in Georgia, where it is warmer for a bigger part of the year and it's sunny, the sun definitely becomes brutal. Even on short rides, you can get cooked pretty good. So I always make it a habit of wearing gloves. I usually use thin gloves. Find something that's comfortable to you, and you definitely want your gloves to fit nice and snug. Even if you're one of those people that doesn't like things that fit snugly, gloves become important because you need to articulate the hand controls, and in doing so you have to be able to have the ability to move your hands, and you certainly don't want a glove that's too big to be caught up in being able to do that. One of the other important considerations in riding aspects that I would share with new people, piece of advice, is fuel management. And what I mean by that is watch your fuel gauge. Big time important if you have a fuel gauge. If you don't have a fuel gauge, look at your mileage. Know how many miles you get on a tank and what kind of riding that you are doing. If you talk to experienced motorcyclists, I'm sure a large majority will tell you a story about fuel management. I know specifically what I'm talking about. I've had a couple of times where, you know, you're out riding and you're trying to get to where you're going. You want to continue to push a little bit further because you know you're going to stop and rest for a minute. And you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you might run out of gas. Listen to your instinct. Ask me how I know that one. I have never personally ran out of gas and been stranded, but I've come pretty damn close. Think about where you're going, especially if you're going on a trip somewhere you've never been. It's a new place. Try to do as much information gathering ahead of time. Know if you're going to be on a long stretch of road where there isn't a fuel stop for a while. Pay attention to signs when they post it. This is the last gas for 80 miles. They probably know what they're talking about. Don't take any chances. Years ago, I was on a motorcycle trip with my best friend John and Mrs. Chef and John's wife Heather, and we were riding through South Georgia, North Florida area, going down towards Daytona, and we stopped at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, and there was an old school biker guy that had stopped. We had a great conversation with this guy. He's on his way to visit his mama, and he had an old Softail, and he knew exactly where he was going. He knew the exact mileage, how he was riding, and he knew that he had to stop at that gas station. That was his stop between his house and his mama's house. He had done that trip enough to know he needed to stop there. He had a reserve on his fuel tank, and he knew when he clicked on his reserve where he was at and where the gas was. And I really hadn't given much thought about fuel management prior to that, but that made me realize that it's kind of important. So I started paying more attention to it and kind of put that into my riding experiences on the regular basis. Guys, that will do it for this part of today's vlog. We will definitely talk about good advice to give to new riders again at some point. If you have a great piece of advice that you learned as a new rider, drop a comment down below, share some great information. You never know who you might reach with that piece of advice, so let us know. I appreciate you stopping by. Please take a look and hit that like and subscribe button for me. Help keep this thing going and growing. And as always, ride safe. Enjoy what you're doing while you're out riding. And enjoy the ability to be out riding free. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.